Welcome to Better Daily Life, where we are moving forward 1% better every single day. Download the app and supercharge your journey at betterdaily.life. Now it's time to ditch facts and get facts with your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Thursday. It is Word Thursday, and on Word Thursday, I share some meditations on a word with you to help you on your 1% better journey. And today's word is the word grow. It is day 20 of the Faithful 40 Challenge. We are exiting the grit phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge and moving into the grow phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge. In the first 10 days in integrity, we put everything together and started becoming aware of the things that we were working hard to change and what we were also in the habit of doing. And in the grit phase, that's where a lot of people will fall off the wagon. You stuck with it. If you're hearing the sound of my voice right now, you stuck with it. And that means that you got the endurance required to grow. And grow is a really cool word, and I'm looking forward to diving into that with you. So grow actually comes from the 15th century German, the way we use it today. And basically it means to flourish, to increase, to develop. That's how we use it today. You might think of plants growing, or maybe if you have small children, you can see them grow. We often will say things like time flies, like the time goes by so fast. It's always way more apparent when you're with somebody or something that's growing how fast the time's going, because, well, I've got a 7-year-old, and I can remember when he was a baby, and there's a significant difference between my 7-year-old and his baby self. Even though the DNA of the two are the same, hasn't changed. He's growing, he's developing, he's flourishing. Good morning, Leslie. Thanks for joining me this morning. Now, this word is particularly important to us here in the Better Daily community because the desire of our community and what brings us together as a group and what really this place is here for in the virtual space is growth. When we say 1% better every day, what we mean is we know we're not perfect. We know that there's opportunity for improvement, opportunity for growth. But when it comes to growth, well, there's a careful balance. I'm going to talk to you about that today. There's a careful balance that allows something to grow or someone to grow. And if you go too hard in one of the directions, then no growth will happen. And 1% every day actually happens to be, conceptually, a balance that's sustainable and consistent and good. So let's talk about that. Growth needs a few things to happen, okay? Every living thing is programmed, so to speak, to grow. And depending on your disposition, you might say because God made it that way. If you're particularly scientifically minded, you would say that biology has evolved us to allow us to move forward in those directions. Whatever your disposition is, it's very inarguable that living things grow. That's what we do. And when we don't grow, we die. We languish. We deteriorate. We cease to exist. And so to grow, in order for you to grow, in order for me to grow, we need certain things to allow flourishing, to develop, to progress. We need certain things. First, we need table stakes, okay? These table stakes are nutrients. If you're a living thing, you burn energy in order to maintain what we call low entropy, which is probably too much science. But the point is, if you didn't burn energy, you wouldn't be able to do things, and you certainly wouldn't be able to hold together. Eventually, the environment would kind of rip you apart either from the inside out, from the outside in. There's a number of ways that could happen. So you need nutrients, energy, first of all, and second of all, something to build yourself out of. And so that's why we eat. That's why plants put roots into the ground, and they use the evaporation through their leaves to pull nutrients up the stalk. So you need nutrients. The higher quality the nutrient, the more you can expect to grow. I grew a garden The first year I was here in Arkansas, we have beautiful, fertile soil, but some of the soil is not as fertile as other places. And so if we didn't add nutrients to the soil, what would happen is we'd plant our plant and it would sprout up, and then it really didn't have a lot of nutrients, and so the sun would kill it and it would die and it wouldn't bear anything. So I had to learn my lesson the hard way. Lots and lots of wasted seeds on my non-nutrient dense soil. And, chicken poop works wonders. You guys care to know, especially for jalapeno plants, man. Chicken poop's the best. So anyway, you need nutrients to grow. You also need nutrients to grow. If you're eating foods that provide you energy but not nutrients, then you'll notice that your growth will take a backseat. You'll notice, and I don't just mean like your muscle growth or your growth of your endurance or the growth of your ability to move in the direction of your goal, but it's also the growth of your mind. It's actually hard to learn. It's hard to learn new things when you're nutrient deprived, not energy deprived. Like a Pop-Tart has plenty of energy in it. I think it's like 370 energy calories, 60 grams of carbohydrates in the Pop-Tart itself. Very, very energy dense, but not nutrients. Like, it's not something to build yourself out of. You can run a very long way on a Pop-Tart, but you're not going to grow any muscle cells from it. You know what I mean? See how that works? So you need nutrients to grow. The other thing that you need to grow, before we talk about what actually stimulates growth, the other thing you need to grow is purpose. So biologically speaking, the purpose is to reproduce. It's all the way down at the level of our DNA. Our children don't know it yet, depending on how old they are, but they are growing up so that someday they can have kids themselves. That's what DNA wants you to do. It wants you to make more little babies so that the DNA doesn't have to die with you. It gets to be passed on, and that's a good thing. And that's, biblically speaking, that's something that God commanded in the very beginning. Go forth and multiply, is what he said. And fill the whole world. And so that is a purpose. That's a purpose of growth. And the same thing could be said of psychological growth and goals as well. Here in the Faithful 40 Challenge, one of the things that we asked you to do in the very beginning is to picture what it is that you're working toward and what it is that you want and what your vision and desire is for this challenge. What are you hoping to accomplish? And some of you said, I'd like to lose 10 pounds. And some of you said, I really need to get serious about my exercise practice. And some of you said, you know what, I'm not really sure what I'm doing with my nutrition, but I need to figure that out. And so when we're talking about growth, we're talking about also there being a purpose for the growth. If you don't have something to grow toward, you don't have a reason to be developing, flourishing, or progressing, then you won't. You might have a little bit of motivation to make some positive changes, but when the motivation fizzles out, you won't continue forward. And this is why when I'm working with clients, it's so important to me at the start of their journey. It's so important to me that we really anchor these things down to the things that matter. So if somebody says, I'd like to lose 10 pounds, I'm like, great. Let's talk more about why that matters. Why is that important? What would life be like if you were at your fighting weight? What would be different about you, right? So somebody might say, well, I will feel more confident at work. My clothes will fit better. I'll be able to keep up with my kids better. My blood sugar, my A1C will be lower, so I won't have to be on these medications. And then we can start to really understand the purpose for the growth. So that said, that's the second thing we need. We need good quality nutrients, and we need a purpose. And then here are the top two ingredients for growth, okay? Because once we have the necessary nutrients and once we have a purpose, then there's this crazy thing that's required. And it's a crazy thing because in my mind, it's the narrow way. It's the place where growth happens, and it's a difficult balance, okay? Because growth needs a stress and growth needs recovery in order to happen. That's the way cells grow. That's the way the neurons in our brain make new connections. That's the way the muscle cells in our body will add new fibers. That's the way our tendons and ligaments get denser. That's the way we learn new things. And the way this happens is a stress. Something has to say to us, you're not enough as you are right now. You need to grow. It's a stress, and some of those stressors are very, very intense, and they require a lot of growth to match them, and some of those stressors are very, very small. I love to say to my clients that in my practice, I don't use exercise like a sledgehammer. I don't like that. I like to use exercise like a scalpel. So instead of beating you up, really want to dig down to the little bits and be more precise with it. And exercise is a stressor. Exercise is an adaptogenic stressor. It means that if applied well, it will spur growth. It will spur growth of the mind and the tissues and the cells, and maybe even growth in your spirit, which is, I think, a powerful and important thing. And so growth requires a stress stimulus, requires something difficult that calls more growth out of you. If you just sit around all day, you're not going to grow. And the reason is because why would you? You're really good at sitting around, or at least I'm not really good at sitting around. But it's easy. I don't need to grow to do that. Just la-da-da. So we need that stress response. But the other thing that growth needs, and this is the fourth thing that growth needs recovery. Because when you have a stressful thing that requires growth, then there's also some downtime required to create growth from that stress response. If you do not rest, you will not grow. You do not rest, you will not grow. So oftentimes in my practice, I'm encouraging my clients to get good sleep. I'm encouraging my clients not to work out too often. I'm encouraging clients, I even have them kind of balance their workout out with some of the stressors in their life. So if my client's moving and they just got a promotion at work and maybe they have a new baby and all these things are really stressful, now's not the time to do hour-and-a-half long workouts trying to grow your muscle as big as you can get, right? I'm not saying there's not a place for an exercise practice, but if you want to grow, if you want to move forward, then you can't overstress the system while being under-recovered, because the process of growth requires a stress on the system and the opportunity to grow, which is what we call recovery. And so when we think about growth, we have the nutrients required, the energy and the molecules to build ourselves out of. We have a purpose, something to move forward to. And then we have this interplay between stress and recovery. And in psychology, we call that the zone of proximal development. And that's actually, good morning, Kat. Good to see you this morning. That's what she's talking about here in her comment. She's talking about how when you're born, you actually have that desire. It's kind of innate in you, and that's why toddlers are always pushing their boundaries, right? What if I do this? Let's see how mom and dad feel about this. What if I do that? What if I touch this thing? What if I push that button? And yes, that's exactly right. The zone of proximal development is that place where perfectly balancing the stress, novelty, difficulty, calling more out of us, and recovery, the opportunity to move forward and to develop and to respond to the stressor. This phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge is important to me because this is the phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge where I need you to challenge yourself. This is the phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge where I need you, because you've been through the grit, because you have endured thus long and you've been committed thus long, you've been providing yourself with better nutrients than usual, you have been committed to being mindful of your mindset every day, you've been consistent with your exercise practices. This is the phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge where I'm going to encourage you to grow. I'm going to encourage you to take on something difficult, something that you didn't think you could do, something that sounds a little crazy maybe, something that gives you just a little extra. Now, you know the bandwidth of your life and your body better than I do right now, because there are times in life where you need to take on a big challenge. At the end of this growth phase, I'm going to be going through a Tough Mudder. That's going to be challenging to me. It's a 9-mile obstacle course race. It's going to require me to grow, and I expect to learn quite a few lessons from that. And so I have the bandwidth to do that in my life right now. Right now, maybe you only have the bandwidth, I'm going to pick on Kat since she's on here, maybe you only have the bandwidth to get rid of Cherry Coke for a week and see what happens to you. And like, that's scary. Yeah, good. That's stressful. And so, well, you got to do it sometimes. That's just how it is. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have Cherry Coke for the rest of your life. And it certainly doesn't mean I'm going to be training for a Tough Mudder for the rest of my life either. But what it does mean is we've recognized an opportunity for growth. We've recognized a stress that could be applied to us to call something out of us that we didn't know was there, right? And Leslie says, "You can do it, Kat." That's what I'm talking about. That stress will cause you to grow. And maybe you're not lifting weights right now, and maybe you need to pick up a dumbbell. Maybe you've been walking and you need to increase the range of your walk a little bit. Maybe you've been walking and you need to start doing some jogging in there. And what's cool about growth, in my world anyway, as a trainer of, I'm almost at 17 years now. As a trainer of almost 17 years, the cool opportunity for growth is that we are all capable of it. We are all capable of it. I have never, ever, ever met a person, and I've met a lot of people in different states of the body, different states of the mind, different states of life and seasons and stuff. I have never met a person who couldn't grow a little from where they are right now. If they're willing to step forward in faith and in courage, I've never met a person who can't grow a little right now. And that's why this 1% Better Daily thing is so passionate for me, so exciting for me, because I don't care where you are right now, you can grow a little bit. And what's crazy is you know it. I don't know how you know it. I don't even know why you know it, but you know it. So let me encourage you to give yourself those 4 things. Give yourself good nutrients, the best you know how. We've done quite a bit in the last 20 days. So give yourself the energy and the nutrients you need to grow. Give yourself purpose. Take a moment to reestablish why you're doing what you're doing and why growing's even worth it to begin with. Then apply the stress. Do the hard thing, especially the thing you don't want to do. That's a really good way to grow. I don't want to do that. That means I got to. It's actually one of the ways that I live my life, is that I'll walk by like a cold river, or I'll be running and then I'll run by a cold river and I'm like, man, that'd be cold. I wouldn't even want to dip my toe. Oh, crap. Dang it. I gotta get in there now. As soon as the thought crosses my mind, oh man, I couldn't imagine if dang it, now I gotta do that. But whatever the stressor is, take it on. Take the bull by the horns, and then rest. Get your rest. Could be relaxation, could be some meditation, could be some writing, could be conversation with a good friend, it could be deep sleep, it could be a commitment to getting enough rest, it could be a day off from exercise. But get your rest, get your recovery. And a promise, if you do those 4 things, if you let those 4 things be a part of what you're doing, you'll grow. I'm going to work hard over the next 10 days to grow, and I try to live my life this way, which is why the 1% Better Daily thing is something I'm committed to, and I appreciate that you guys are too. Janet, thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you, Kat and Leslie, for joining me as well. Good luck during the growth phase of the Faithful 40 Challenge. I pray that your efforts are blessed. Guys, this has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. No, scratch that. This growth conversation requires a prayer. So I'm going to pray over you, and then I'm going to close out this shortcast. Father God, thank you so much that you have given us the ability to grow, and that you call forth in us the best, to be good stewards of what we've been given. You say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And God, I pray that you teach us to walk the narrow way between stressful difficulty and adequate recovery. Give us this day our daily bread, the good work and the sustenance to knock it out, and let us have our eyes pointed in the right direction. Teach us to grow. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for Grow. I'm excited about what we're going to do with it. Until next time, it's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better. Be you, just better, in mind, body, and spirit. Go to betterdaily.life, download our app, and check out our 5-star coaching resources. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.life today.